takes an unexpected and unsettling turn. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, June 24th reveals Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will spill Nikki Newman's, Melody Thomas Scott, secret to Victor Newman, Eric Braeden. Also coming up, Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, will be angry when Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, appears at the Shadow Room. Plus, Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will plead with her mother. And Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, will spot his former drug dealer. YNR spoilers tease Victor will continue to press Victoria and Claire for answers. "You're withholding something," he'll say. "I want to know what that is." Then Nikki will come down the stairs and glare at him. Victor will say he can tell Victoria and Claire are worried and he just wants to help. Nikki asks Victoria to take her hospital now. But Nikki will tell him her health has nothing to do with him and she'll take off, with Victoria trailing her. "What you just heard was your grandmother's fear," Victor will tell Claire. "That's why you must be honest with me." Claire will say she can't tell him anything and he'll walk away. Then Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, will show up and she'll tell him she's frustrated. Victor was pressuring her about something but she can't betray Nikki's confidence. Holden will ask if she'd rather keep the secret, knowing it'll come out eventually. "Or would you rather your grandparents face whatever this is together?" So, Claire will head to the ranch and Victor will ask what she's doing there. "It's Grandma, you need to know the truth," she'll reply. Claire will tell him about the mass on Nikki's brain resting on her optic nerve. "Grandpa, she could go blind." As for Victoria and Nikki, they'll end up at the park cafe. "Dad needs to know," she'll tell her mom. But Nikki will say she is so angry right now and she can't add Victor on top of that. "It diminishes me." Then she'll get a blinding headache and her vision will blur again. Nikki will ask Victoria to take her to the hospital, right now. At Crimson Lights, Nick will open up to Sharon Newman, Sharon case. She'll ask if he just came from a meeting. "Yup, and it was not fun," he'll reply. Nick will tell Sharon the meetings are draining, even when you don't talk. He'll admit he keeps having a dream that he's tempted to use again and he does, every time. "I wake up feeling like an idiot because I'm getting nothing from it," he'll add. "I'm filled with guilt and shame." Sharon will tell him he can do this. Young and the Restless scoop, Nick says he will never need him again. She'll get a call from Mariah Copeland, Cameron Grimes, so Nick will wander onto the patio. And he'll see his old drug dealer sitting there. "You look stressed," he'll say to Nick. "Anything I can do to help?" Nick will say he doesn't need him, now or ever again. Meanwhile, Matt will walk into the Shadow Room and Noah will stare at him. Matt will say it smells better than the LA version. Noah will be angry he's there and Matt will apologize for what he did to Noah in the past. But he'll tell him it's totally meaningless. "You are not redeemable," Noah will add. "And if you hurt anyone that I care about, I will kill you myself." But Matt will say Victor's giving him a chance to prove himself. "Can't you give me a chance and follow his lead?" But Noah will refuse. Then Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will walk in and she'll defend Matt. The two of them will eventually head out, leaving Noah steaming. Finally, Phyllis and Matt will end up at the GCAC restaurant. He'll tell her he's always been too much and he needs to tamp it down. Phyllis will say she's been too much her whole life. Matt will smile at her and ask her out on a date. Phyllis will be stunned but Matt will tell her she's dazzling. "You have a really beautiful face and I'm pretty sure you have a really warm heart," he'll add. "We could get each other and I think we should go to dinner." But will Phyllis agree to have dinner with Matt? From my point of view, the emotional damage may last longer than anyone anticipates. Claire tells Victor Nikki could go blind, Matt asks Phyllis out to dinner. The morning sun rose over Genoa City, but there was little warmth to be found inside the Newman ranch. The sprawling estate was unusually quiet. Even the staff moved carefully through the halls, as if sensing the tension hanging in the air. Upstairs, Nikki Newman sat alone in her bedroom. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. For a moment, her vision blurred. Again. The frightening symptom had become more frequent over the past few days. She blinked repeatedly. The room slowly came back into focus. Nikki gripped the edge of the vanity. Fear settled heavily in her chest. The doctors had warned her that additional complications were possible, but hearing medical possibilities and experiencing them were two entirely different things. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in." The door opened and Claire stepped inside. Nikki immediately forced a smile. "Good morning, sweetheart." Claire returned the smile, but concern filled her eyes. "You don't look like you slept." Nikki laughed lightly. "I suppose I'm not fooling anyone." Claire walked closer. "You had another headache, didn't you?" Nikki hesitated. That hesitation told Claire everything. "Oh, Nikki. I'm fine." "No, you're not." Nikki looked away. The young woman sat beside her grandmother. For months, Claire had worked hard to build relationships with the Newman family. The bond she had developed with Nikki was one of the most important connections in her life, which made what she had learned earlier that morning even more terrifying. Claire had overheard part of a conversation between Nate and a specialist. A conversation she wasn't supposed to hear. A conversation she couldn't stop thinking about. She swallowed hard. "Nikki." "Yes." "Have the doctors told Victor everything?" Nikki immediately stiffened. "What do you mean?" Claire looked down. The answer was obvious. They hadn't. Nikki reached for Claire's hand. "What exactly did you hear?" Claire's voice trembled. "I heard them discussing possible damage to your optic nerves." The room fell silent. Nikki closed her eyes. Claire instantly knew she had guessed correctly. "Oh my God. Claire. You could lose your eyesight?" Tears filled Claire's eyes. Nikki looked heartbroken. The possibility had haunted her ever since the doctors first mentioned it. A small chance. A rare complication. But a possibility nonetheless. "We don't know that. But it's possible." Nikki didn't answer. That silence felt devastating. Meanwhile, downstairs, Victor Newman stood in his office reviewing reports. Business problems normally commanded his attention. Today, however, his mind remained elsewhere. Everything came back to Nikki. Every decision. Every thought. Every fear. His wife had always been the center of his world. The idea that she was facing another medical crisis was unacceptable. The Black Knight was accustomed to solving problems. But this was different. This was something money couldn't simply fix. A knock came at the door. "Enter." Claire stepped inside. Victor immediately noticed her expression. "What's wrong?" She hesitated. "Grandpa." Victor stood. "What happened?" Claire took a deep breath. "I think there's something you need to know." Seconds later, Victor's face darkened. His jaw tightened. His eyes flashed with anger and fear. "Blind?" Claire nodded slowly. "The doctors are concerned." Victor looked as though the floor had vanished beneath him. "No." "I'm sorry." "No." Victor slammed his hand onto the desk. The force startled Claire. "They should have told me. I don't think Nikki wanted to worry you." Victor laughed bitterly. "She didn't want to worry me?" His voice cracked. The pain behind those words was impossible to ignore. "That woman has stood beside me through every battle I've ever fought." He stared toward the window. "And she's facing this alone?" Claire's heart broke. For all of Victor's power and intimidation, moments like these revealed the depth of his love for Nikki. He wasn't thinking like a billionaire. He wasn't thinking like a corporate titan. He was thinking like a husband terrified of losing the woman he loved. I'm going to speak with her. Victor left the office immediately. Claire remained behind. Worry consumed her. The entire family seemed to be standing on the edge of another catastrophe. And she feared the worst was still coming. Across town, however, a very different story was beginning. Phyllis Summers marched into Crimson Lights carrying her laptop and enough determination to power an entire city. She barely noticed the customers around her. Business opportunities filled her mind. Unfortunately, so did frustrations. Recent setbacks had left her feeling trapped. And Phyllis hated feeling trapped. She ordered coffee and sat at her favorite table. Minutes later, Matt walked through the door. He spotted her immediately. A smile crossed his face. Lately, he had found himself looking forward to their conversations. Phyllis challenged him. Amused him. Occasionally drove him crazy. But she never bored him. And after everything he'd experienced recently, that felt refreshing. Working already? Phyllis glanced up. Someone around here has to. Matt laughed. Tough morning? When isn't it? He sat across from her. The conversation flowed naturally. What began as casual banter quickly evolved into something more personal. Matt found himself studying her. The confidence. The intelligence. The vulnerability she tried so hard to hide. There was far more to Phyllis than the reputation she carried around Genoa City. And the more he learned, the more intrigued he became. Eventually, Phyllis noticed him staring. What? Nothing. You're staring. I was thinking. Dangerous. Matt laughed. There she is. There who is? The woman who always has a comeback. Phyllis smirked. The chemistry between them was impossible to ignore. Even she could feel it. Which made her nervous. Relationships had rarely ended well for her. Trusting people wasn't exactly one of her strengths. Matt leaned forward. Can I ask you something? Depends. Fair. He paused. Then smiled. Would you have dinner with me tonight? Phyllis blinked. For once, she seemed genuinely speechless. Matt enjoyed seeing that. She recovered quickly. Dinner? That's usually how it works. She rolled her eyes. You know what I mean. I do. The air between them shifted. Neither looked away. Finally, Phyllis laughed softly. Are you asking me on a date? Maybe. Maybe? Matt shrugged. I'm trying not to scare you. Phyllis laughed again. Trust me, that's not the problem. Then what is? She hesitated. Old wounds. Old betrayals. Old heartbreaks. Too many memories flooded her mind. Matt noticed the change immediately. His expression softened. I'm not asking for forever. The words surprised her. I'm asking for dinner. For some reason, that made it harder to say no. Across town, Victor entered Nikki's bedroom. She looked up. The second she saw his face, she knew. Claire had told him. Victor crossed the room without speaking. Then he gently took her hands. Nikki. She swallowed. Victor. Why didn't you tell me? Tears filled her eyes. I didn't want to frighten you. His voice broke. You think I'd rather not know? The emotion in his eyes overwhelmed her. Victor lowered his forehead against hers. We face everything together. Nikki finally began to cry. And Victor held her tightly. No matter what happened next. No matter what challenges lay ahead. Neither intended to face them alone. But somewhere in Genoa City, forces were already moving. Secrets were growing. Danger was approaching. And before the week ended, the lives of the Newman family, Phyllis Summers, and Matt would change forever.